Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers 5-minute update. But this will not be a 5-minute update. It's going to be a lot longer than that. We say that all the time on the 5-minute show, and it's usually 10-15 minutes. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be longer than that on this.
Me and
it's
Jamie Holmes speaking for 5 minutes.
They're not happening. Not happening,
mate.
As you are probably aware, this is going to be a Joe Gomez injury special, if you want to call it that. And we're just going to go over our own thoughts and feelings on it, the ramifications for Liverpool, and if there's any solution out there or what we can do about it. So, as you can tell, I'm joined by Grizz and Jamie. Lads, how are you feeling? How's the mood?
I would have liked to have been coming on the podcast under better terms, to be honest with you, mate. It's not ideal, and the one position where you wouldn't have wanted any niggles or certainly no long-term injuries seems to have happened. So, yeah, little frustrated, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, it's a tough one to take, isn't it? And Grizz, what about yourself?
Very tough one. Very tough one. I'd rather not have done this podcast tonight, which would have meant, there's no sort of injury to Joe Gomez or whatever to speak about.
Chris, we've been talking about doing a podcast together for years now, and we finally get one. We finally get to do one, mate, and it's because Big Joe's got injured. It's
an absolute sickening one. And first and foremost, lads, I think you'll all agree, it's the most sickening part of it is for Joe himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gutted for the kid. Honest to God, lads, I was at work when. I think Paul Joyce said something first, and I thought to myself, oh no, not Joe Gomez, right? And then you think to yourself straight away, automatically, it's natural, isn't it? Then you think, how serious? And then you think, which part, as you picked up the injury, and then you think, hope it's not the knee. The train of thought. And
everything you don't want to happen, and then it's getting like a checklist.
Drip fed. Death by 1,000 cuts, and you're like,
100%.
Yeah, you're ticking off all the hope it's not, and it's everything that you're hoping it's not, and then you find out it's his knee, and then you think, oh, hope it's not as bad as it was last time. I think 2015 he'd done his ACL. So yeah, all day I could obviously, from a selfish point of view, from a fan point of view, you think Liverpool. Are we cursed? What is this? What is going on? But then you realize that, imagine how Joe Gomez feels tonight. And yeah, proper downer, mate. Proper downer. It's one of those, if I was a drinker, I'd be downing him tonight.
I'll have one for you, mate.
Yeah, Jamie will make up for it.
But I'm an eater. So I done plenty of comfort food. Let me tell you that, man.
The double-decker ice cream will be getting horsed out with tonight.
That's afterwards. Yeah.
But isn't it funny, lads, the way that these things happen? I mean, there was a lot of talk in the summer about whether we should have strengthened in that position. And I can understand that there's a lot of people probably now that come out of the woodwork and, it's, oh, look, I told you so, we should have strengthened. It's very easy, I think, to say that now. If it's not for me, you've got to try and keep the balance of the squad right. And going into the start of the season, I looked at it and thought, okay, Virgil's a player that doesn't get injured. Until this absolute horror injury, which,
it's not necessarily an injury. It is an injury, but it's the result of an absolute hatchet job. You know what I mean?
It's not the norm. It's not the norm. So you're looking at your centre back who never gets injured. He's missed I don't think he missed a game in 2 years. Then you look. The problem came with Gomez and Matip. They're both made of crisps, and you're looking at that going, okay, if them alongside Fabinho, who I always thought Klopp looked at and thought, you know what, he's absolutely a good solution to have, which he has gone on to show. He's been fantastic when playing centre back. I think the challenge now is we're living in a post-COVID world. So we were already smart with our transfers pre-COVID, but post-COVID, when there's not a lot of money knocking around, you only have to look at the structure of the deals that we put in place for Jota and THIAGO. We can't start spending money on third and fourth choice centre-backs when we prioritised attackers and midfielders. So I just think we've been incredibly unlucky. Like, how could you ever write this script?
I don't know if woe is me and all that. It's not a road I want to go down as Liverpool fans, because I felt Man City done it an awful lot, and the media sort of played up to it a lot. Man City lost Laporte and what you expected to do, even though they'd a plethora of players that could go in there. Liverpool seem to be just trying to get on with it. Now, this is another blow. But the transfer business, you know, Jamie touched on it there. We signed Jota, we signed Simicast, which were positions that we needed. And the other one that we would have, the centre back cover, was probably the next. But we went and got THIAGO. An opportunity arose and we went and got THIAGO. And as Jamie said, you know, Klopp obviously sees Fabinho as a viable option there at centre back. But he didn't think he'd pick up the injuries that he's picked up as well. You know, it's just been so unfortunate. And the thing that I'm saying is, people want us to go out and sign, you know, these players off the top shelf at centre back, and it's probably not really a viable option, is it? You know, it's you have to balance your squad, you have to balance your players.
Look, during the summer, we kind of discussed it and we weighed up all the options. We tried to sort of pretend to get into sort of the Liverpool recruitment team's minds and what they could be thinking, sort of along the lines of, and I made sense of it. I mean, how can you cater for the amount of injuries and the type of injuries that we've managed to get? I mean, if you told me, and I know hindsight, and some people hate that if you told me, but if you told me that our centre backs would have been Virgil van Dijk, Matip, Gomez, and Fabinho, because that's the mindset, right? Klopp's come out and said it. We thought Fabinho could do an excellent job because we didn't get rid of Gini Wijnaldum, like so many dimwits out there wanted to get rid of, to sort of get rid of and then bring in THIAGO, which would have been we would have been in a worse situation right now. But our Liverpool as a club or as a coach decided to keep Gini Wijnaldum and add the best central midfielder in the world.
Yeah, mate, I'd have sold the centre back. I'd have sold the centre back if it meant we got THIAGO. That's how highly I rate him.
That's how we thought. So then I thought to myself, well, let's analyze it from what we've got now compared to the start of the previous season, which, by the way, we smashed 100 points near enough and won the league, right? So let's not forget that. So that squad had Lovren and the other three centre backs. Now it's fair to say, I think, that we were in a stronger position at centre back than the record-breaking season before.
Yeah.
Add to that the likes of Williams, Billy, the kid.
I think Phillips is a better option than
Phillips still there. So then we've got four, I'd say, probably the best centre backs in the country, and I'm adding Fabinho to that. I don't care. Maybe you know. I actually believe he's got the makings of a brilliant centre back, and you know, Keith, I said that all summer. I was drumming the Fabinho at centre back all summer.
True.
So it's very difficult to criticise our recruitment for this summer, for this season, particular window. We could always say, but you know, but we're looking at someone who's going to challenge the likes of Matip, Gomez, and Fabinho to be Virgil's #1 partner. You got to be some centre back, and you're going to cost some wedge to get to be partner of Virgil van Dijk. And then, as Jamie says, the type of injuries, like, you can't foresee them. Virgil hasn't missed, you know, games in 2 years. Gomez hasn't, apart from the ACL. He's got little strains here and there, but on the whole, you know, Matip was the dodgy one. I get that, but it's just I don't know what to say, lads. The amount of injuries at centre back is, I don't know how to explain it, how to make sense of it.
But I think there's a wider question, and as gut wrenching as it is for Gomez, there's a bigger question here. And it's not just looking at the injuries to Gomez and to Van Dijk. We've got Trent out at the moment. There's players popping muscles all over the place. Yeah. Who in their right mind is making decisions to put international friendlies, meaningless games in the middle of a season that's already shorter? You had less pre-season, I think. We're trying to cram a full season with 1 month less. I think there becomes a point when you need to look at this, and I put it out on Twitter a few times, and people have got annoyed. Oh, you know, these are on 130 grand a week. They should be able to play a couple of times a week. They're missing the point. This isn't linked to their wage. This is linked to performance. And as fans, you want to see the best players playing for the best teams, and you know, we want to see the best players be able to perform. We are wheeling players out, you know, and expecting them to still deliver 9, 10 out of 10s. Because look, let's be honest, social media fans demand 10 out of 10 performances. They won't accept somebody that drops to 7 out of 10 because your legs are falling off. Liverpool's second half performance was a team that are literally stretched to the maximum. And they just, you cannot keep expecting players to go out and perform and putting these needless games in the middle of a busy, congested pit. Like, Klopp must be going absolutely spare that this has happened. Am I right in saying this is the third time Gomez has been injured for England?
Yeah, and third serious one. He done his ACL, didn't he? In the bad one when Klopp had only arrived. Then he done his ankle. Was it his ankle he done?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, he needed an op on his ankle.
Yeah, he got an op on that as well. So that, and now this one, like we don't know. I know people are saying like Southgate hasn't said the extent. They haven't had a scan yet, but from what Southgate was saying, it doesn't sound too good. You know, there's no one near him. I assumed it was an impact from a tackle or something, but there's no one near him when he goes down. So I don't know how he done that. Jarred his leg in the ground or something. I haven't a clue, but it doesn't sound good.
Have you seen what Chris Brack has just said in the comments there? 2 have gone off injured in Holland versus Spain after 25 minutes. Ake has pinged his hamstring. This is going to be the season now.
Yeah, but look at the timing of it, lads. Look at the timing of it. It was only the last press conference after the game where Pep and Klopp had their hissy fit, so to speak, what people were saying. Look at the timing of it. They literally said, this is likely to happen. These are the dangers. And, you know, it was Pep who said, like, you know, why this country's governing body feels superior to everyone else and not in, you know, sort of have this 5-sub rule, for example, is mad. It's absolutely bollocks. Like, what are you, this is solely to protect the players. And Jamie says everyone's so quick to ask for a grade A sort of performances from players week in, week out. The slightest dip in form or consistency and everyone's jumping on them. But these guys are human. Now, they're not machines, and we're asking them to be machines. And, you know, okay, the Trent one, you know, was bad enough. You know, one of our most creative players, right? And now the sickening news. Honestly, I'm still sad. I'm so happy I'm with you two tonight. 2 of the most positive bloody Reds. But you know me, I'm usually positive as well. But
yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm struggling to raise myself for the rest of the season, and I know we've got the best man to do that, like Jurgen Klopp. If anyone can raise these lot.
Do you want to hear my positive spin then, Grizz? Do you want to hear me? I'll always try. I'll always try. So. Still okay. So Trent, it looks like he could be back in a few weeks. They've said 4 weeks, but they're confident of getting him back quicker, right? We basically just need to get through a block of games. I don't think that there's this big huge panic. If you look at the likes of Fabinho and THIAGO, who are going to come back into this side, right? They are world class, elite footballers that would walk into any side on the planet, right?
Correct.
So if you bring in Fabinho alongside a Matip who's now fit, that is good enough to win a title. That if you can keep Matip fit, or if you know, guarding no injuries to the 2 of them, you keep them fit for a block of games, we're absolutely solid as a rock. With THIAGO, Henderson, and Gini Wijnaldum, I'd say, you know, rotating Keita if we need somebody to be a bit more offensive. We haven't even seen what THIAGO is going to do for this team in terms of creating from deep yet, and the protection that he provides. So we're not going to miss, I know it sounds bad, but we're not going to miss Fabinho that much in centre midfield when you can see the industry, the work rate of Henderson and Wijnaldum alongside THIAGO's creativity. Those front 3 lads are going to get a hatful. So for me, you know, you look at that, the spine of the team, it's still very, very strong. You've still got the best 2 fullbacks in world football, in my opinion. And the front, we've now got a front 4. We've never had a front 4 before. You know, so we still have a lot of quality. Yeah. It's just, you know, can we keep Matip fit? You know, can we get to January where potentially then we'd look to bring somebody in? I think our hand's probably been forced. What do you think?
Go on, Keith. Well, give your spin on it. Well, not spin, but your thoughts. I hate that word spin. It's like we're trying to create something that's not there. Yeah. It's facts. So go on, say what you think, Keith.
No, it's a tough one. Like something Jamie said there is spot on. If, and it's a big if, Matip and Fabinho stay fit, I agree. There's not an issue there, but the problem is that they won't stay fit. Now, replacing, bringing somebody in, a lot of people are in the chat are saying, you know, what can we do? Can we bring in free agent players? We can bring in free agents, but the problem we have bringing in a free agent is it can't be not that if they're not homegrown, they can't be registered in our squad because we're at the max with non-homegrown players. So then you're looking at.
Amanda just talks about that. Yeah, sorry. Go on, carry on.
Yeah. We got to worry about homegrown players as well. So we can't just and that's the point. We can't just bring somebody in because, if the four names those four names being mentioned as top free agent, Ezekiel Garoy only had an ACL in February or something. So, that's why he's a free agent, because he cancelled his contract with Valencia. Daniel Schwab at PSV, a lot of injuries. Joseph Simonic, that was at Celtic, and there's another one, I can't think of who the other one is off the top of my head, but there's four that they'll say are sort of relatively decent centre-back options. We can't sign any of them. You know what I mean? We just, unless we take someone out now, unless they take Van Dijk out of the squad, but I don't know if you can do that. If you can just take him off the registration, because he's not going to be playing. So unless they can do something around that, they're not going to be able to bring someone in. Now, Grizz, did you hear of another name?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any listeners and viewers can take you up on that point and find out if that can be done. But look, in terms of where we are, I totally agree with Jamie, and I know we discussed it in the group. I do totally agree that we have. So, for example, if we have Fabinho and Matip with our fullbacks, Alisson, THIAGO, Henderson, and our front four, if we can play that team 80%, 75%, all right, of the time, we walk this league. But the problem lies is if we can't. And will our reserves, so for example, we know Matip's history, blah, blah, blah. Who steps in if Matip gets crocked? Now, we can muck about in the Champions League for now because we've built up such a brilliant platform and we're near enough qualified. I don't know if we play any FA Cup games before January. I don't think we do.
No, that starts in January, usually the first week in January.
If we can keep that 11, or let's say a group of 13, 14 that we got that we know are elite. I mean, that's an elite lineup, Jamie just said there.
Yeah.
And anyone who doubts that team wins a league is deluded. But also it's hard to imagine keeping Matip and fit for those. I think we've got 8 games, lads.
Yeah.
I think it's 8 games we've got. And that's my only fair worry. I'm gonna sound like a real pessimist today, and it's not like me, but I just want comfort from you lot in response. There's no guarantee. I know everyone's looking forward to January, and look, we go and buy a centre back.
Same problem exists in January with the homegrown thing.
But also, Keith, in this day and age, or even this current market, first, every club director is going to be just waiting near his calculator for the bids for any of their players, right? Because we know we're desperate now. And secondly, there's no guarantee in football that you're going to get a top centre-back of the level required to walk into this elite team. Because remember, we're an elite team and challenging for the elite trophies and titles. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to find someone who can walk straight in and fit into the system. It's a lot of thinking to do, I think, for our recruitment team. Yeah.
I think we need to remember as well who our manager is. He prides himself on being able to find in-squad solutions, and it's not what a lot of fans want to hear, because a lot of fans just like anything that's shiny and new. But Klopp will always pride himself on trying to find solutions within his squad, and so much so, I just think our days of stockpiling players or buying stopgaps have gone. If they're not on big Michael Edwards spreadsheet and haven't been for a while, I very much doubt, unless you're the ilk of a THIAGO, which surprised everybody, you're not going to get brought in. So I'd be surprised if we went and bought someone. I think you're right, Grizz. I think the big question mark is Matip. Can we keep him consistently fit? Because it's him, mate. That's the thing. Fabinho, I have no concerns, and if anything, I actually nearly prefer him to some of the other options, just because he's so smart at because he's playing defensive midfield. They're so clever in how they can nick in and steal a ball. He's naturally aggressive. He's front-footed. I have no problems. I suppose one thing that could expose us is the lack of recovery pace from Gomez. But when you've got Alisson playing so high off his line, you know what I mean? He will sweep up a lot of that. So that's not too much of an issue. I think for me, it's Matip's the big one. I think as well, maybe we need to adjust expectations in terms of, you've seen Nat Phillips come in, right? Nat Phillips isn't a great footballer. He's not going to step out. He's not going to play. But what he can do is defend.
Yeah.
So maybe it just means that sometimes, mate, if the ball's there to be headed, he headed it. He was pretty much faultless. But the thing about him was he knew his strengths. He didn't try and do a Lovren where Lovren tries to be Van Dijk. Look, play to your strengths. It just might be that in some games, if Matip needs a rest, Phillips comes in against a more direct side and just does his job. And, you know, as long as he's got those world-class players around him, we should be able to get through it.
Yeah, and it's a great point. It is all about, you know, fans' expectations. We'll always want them. I'm looking at some of the names getting mentioned in there, and I'm not having a pop at anyone, you know what I mean? But people are saying to me on Twitter, you know, Upamecano, get Upamecano for his buyout clause in January. Number one, as Grizz said, any sporting director now in Europe is going to be rubbing his hands. There's not a chance we'll get Upamecano for 36 million in January. Not a hope in hell. If all things equal, we might have been able to do a deal that we'd get him in the summer, maybe, you know, and deal with. But he's not going to come in January. If you do get him in January, you're going to be paying 60 million for him.
Well, I know this is not the transfer agenda show, and we wait January. But I'm just going to pop in something. Look, I was told the reason why we're not going for a centre back now is we felt that everything made sense in terms of what we've discussed, and our number one target was Upamecano because of that release fee, which doesn't come about until summer. And it made sense in terms of, if you think about the way we work, and we know about clauses in players that, like, for example, the Minaminos of this world, and even Matip at the time was a free transfer. Correct me if I'm wrong, lads. But we know about these clauses. But we know about these clauses in these centre backs. I genuinely believe we have to revisit that plan and thought now in January. And you know, I know we're not the finance people, and we're not accountants, and we, you know, but we will have to disregard sort of in terms of how much it costs, because needs must. That's my opinion, guys. I don't know what you guys think. It's a needs must situation. And if it means that we can secure, I'm not saying, let's say any centre back. Let's just not restrict ourselves to Upamecano. But Upamecano, as far as I know, was the number one target. Now, let's just say if we have to pay around 15-20 million on top of anything we would have had to pay, I think we have to do it, lads. I don't know what you guys think.
But you're going to go get there, Keith?
No, go, Jamie. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the big one is, by the sounds of it, Gomez, he's not coming back anytime soon, lads. Like, this could be more than a year. It's nearly worse than ACL by the sounds of it. Once his patella's gone, that's a horrific injury, lads. So this isn't one where we're like, right, okay, you know, Gomez, we can bank on him being back. Yeah, it's like Gomez isn't coming back for a while. So I think, given the length of the injury, I think we do have to potentially go into the markets. But I'd be looking at someone more like an Alaba or somebody like that. That's a smart bit of business experience, latter stages of his career, if you will, but still can come in and make an immediate impact. And when the others come back, he's not going to be screaming on the manager's door asking for game time.
And he's so versatile as well that you're going to be able to play him left back, centre mid, wide mid, attacking mid.
Always talks about it.
Yeah, it's a big point. So Kieran,
let me read this super chat before we discuss the Alaba, because I think that's a great shout. Kieran, thank you for the super chat. He says 11 games until January. Bloody hell, I thought it was 8. Survival of the fittest. Beat Atlanta at home. That gives us effectively 8 games to get through until the window opens. It literally is battle of the survival of the fittest, lads. And that's a great point by Kieran. Going on to Alaba, I think it would have made sense. And I think we would have 100% explored that avenue. It makes sense in so many ways, especially with Gini, you know, looking to be going in the summer. He would be able to, he's your modern day James Milner, basically, this fella. I don't know many footballers, but my knowledge is limited. You guys might be able to tell me, but I don't know many footballers that are elite in 2-3 positions like Alaba is. Centre back, left back, centre mid. Elite.
Kimmich is the only other one, and he's at Bayern as well, you know.
Absolutely.
But he's injured, and as Chris points out, they won't sell Alaba. The fact that they've lost Kimmich, but he's in the last 6 months of his contract as well, and they'll have a decision to make. I mean, I don't know what figures you're talking, but if you throw 20 million at Bayern Munich with 6 months left on his,
Yeah, but Keith, I know a lot of people raised this issue with THIAGO as well. Like maybe we'll just wait for him in the summer. It's not a case of waiting with Alaba. If we were to do it, we'd have to pay big money, and even then, would Bayern sanction it? I don't know if any of the viewers or listeners know the state or how long Kimmich is out for. You know, that may have an influence. I think.
The big thing is it like THIAGO, if Klopp gets in his ear and tells him that he wants him, he just sits tight, and the longer he doesn't sign a new deal, the power swings in our favor. And as you said there, if we put money in front of them of a decent amount, you'd be confident of getting something done.
Yeah,
I mean, you touched up on the quota thing, lads. We even had a look at Mariappa. This was before Joe Gomez, before everyone has a fit. While we had Joe Gomez fit and Fabinho and Matip, because of the situation and sort of, shall we wait for Upamecano or Alaba for free in the summer, we actually had a look at someone reliable that I trust. Told me we had a look at Mariappa. I don't even know if he's at Watford. I don't know if anyone can tell me where he's at now, but it would have made sense in terms of a Stephen Colker type short-term loan, played in the Premier League, you know, 4th, 5th choice. You know, I'm just putting it out there that Mariappa was one of the, but obviously we're not going to be looking at the Mariappas of the world now. In my opinion, we've got to go big, lads. I really think, I don't know what you guys think. We really have to go for, we have to, you know, like Jamie, you said earlier about it, we think so ahead about our recruits in terms of we plan 6 months, no, a year in advance.
18 months or so.
Yeah, I think we may have to bring.
Mariappa only signed for Bristol City there 2 weeks ago, so I don't know what the story is with him.
Has he signed now? That was
11th of November.
Well, there you go. So even that's out the window now. This is what I mean. This was before all these injuries. That's why we looked at, because he was a free transfer as well. So that's out the window as well now. But look, in my opinion, I think we go for someone not short term, no loan business. You know, Virgil, and it's sickening. But Virgil and Joe Gomez's injuries are long-term, lads, and we just have to come to terms with it. Our recruitment team has to bring forward our plans, because we're literally left with one senior centre-back who's played there all his life, and that's Matip.
Actually, it's only today that Mariappa signed for Bristol, so we've literally just missed out on him.
But there you go.
So I'm gonna try the positive spin again, lads, right? Because I feel like Grizz needs a bit of positivity. I can see it in his face. I don't like this, Grizz. We need to get you back feeling good, mate. If you look at the block of fixtures that we've just navigated, so we've already gone away to Chelsea, we've already gone away to City, we've gone away to Everton. We've pretty much boxed off.
Well, didn't we?
Well, they came to us, didn't they?
At home,
but yeah, if you look at the Champions League group, we pretty much boxed that off. Yeah. So to be fair, we've got through a really, really difficult period. And the kicker is, I always look at blocks of fixtures, and I just kept thinking, and I'm nearly sure that the management were looking at it, if we can just get past City, if we can just wheel them out and get them past City, we've got a couple of weeks there, take stock, and we can start rotating. I think, because if you look at our next block of fixtures, they're not horrific, touch wood, you know, don't want to jinx us, but and, you know, people were saying, did we take a risk with Trent, you know, playing him in the Champions League and play? You've got to play Trent in those games. If you have an opportunity to go and win at Atalanta, get the job done, then go to City full strength and try and get some points. Then say to Trent, okay, have a bit of time out. We just probably pushed it a bit too far, and that's the risk that managers are have to take, and that's why Klopp and Guardiola are getting so frustrated, because, you know, people saying, oh well, they didn't make changes, they didn't use their full quota of subs or whatever it is. These games are such high stakes. You look at Liverpool's back four? Are you saying that we should have played a James Milner in one of those games in the Champions League against Man City at fullback? It's just, these managers are one game away from a crisis. They can't afford to take the chances. So it's in my opinion, it's only going to get worse. And I think you're seeing a lot in the comments tonight that international football is causing havoc. You got a load of injuries coming through now. It's it's going to cause turmoil for the rest of the season. Yeah,
it's a good point as well about we've got through the games we've managed to get through to get to this point, and it's fucking internationals. But when we come back, Big Joe Walsh was kind enough to throw in fixtures into the WhatsApp group earlier that we would have all seen. So Leicester, Atalanta, Brighton, Ajax, Wolves. Midgetland, Fulham, and Spurs, right? So the worry there, right? Leicester, when we in the first game back. Now, lads, if we could say that we have Matip and Fabinho playing in that centre back, do you go with Nico Williams at right back against Leicester? But if one of them aren't fit and you're going with Reece Williams or Nat Phillips, does that change the thinking of playing Nico Williams at right back? And are you looking then at a Milner in there as well? So there's so many jigsaw pieces that, we can't say now what will happen. But from looking at those fixtures, I think that's, if we can, again, get through that one, then there's an easier run. As we've said, the Champions League, not that it's going to look after itself, but we've done good work in that to get in the position where we are now, that we should pick up the win that we're going to need somewhere. So we probably don't have to worry so much about that. Is it just about getting through that Leicester game and then trying to say, right, we what we have, if we were to, even if we had them all fit in and we were rotating, so we're not playing Matip, Fabinho every game because you're likely to run them down. You could say against Brighton, for example, you could go Matip, Nat Phillips. Against Wolves, then you might go Matip, Fabinho. You might go against Fulham, you might go Reece Williams and Fabinho. Do you know what I mean? Is it about managing the options, or it's not something Klopp really does, is it? He goes with his main men. Do you think that needs to be a bit of thinking behind it now?
I think you made a brilliant point in terms of, but before we carry on with the brilliant points, we've got 600 people watching, and I don't think we've got enough likes at all. And I know you're shy, and Gav's shy about asking for likes, but you know me, I'm not shy. So
112 Grizz,
that's all ridiculous, we have. Isn't it? That's poor, isn't it? That's like ridiculous. That's like we're giving all these brilliant points out for free. Like, we're not even asking for anything. We're just asking for a press of a button. So if you could,
if we get to 600 likes, lads, Trent will be back for Leicester. Come on, press the,
you know what I mean?
The like button.
And if we don't, the three of us will be making up part of the back four. So, Jamie, you might be all right, but the other two, I don't
He'll
know.
have to carry us. Well, not literally, hopefully, because he'll break his body. Yeah. But look, press that like button, please. It's very important to us. You've made a brilliant point about if Fabinho and Matip play as a centre-backs, then I think he trusts the energy and the vibrancy of a Nico Williams, especially if we're playing at home, and I believe we are against Leicester. That does change if it's a Reece Williams or Phillips, in my opinion. Then you'd suggest that he goes with Milner. But lads, have any of you thought about Robertson playing as a centre-back?
He's played there for Scotland. Played there before.
Now that Tsimikas is fully fit, again, we don't know. He's gone away with his international country. Probably has, but fingers crossed, touch wood and all that he comes back. I really like this Tsimikas fella.
Yeah,
I think he's an absolute clone, Jamie, for Robbo. You know that, right? This is not a slight on Nico Williams. I love Nico Williams, right? I absolutely adore the kid, but I think I prefer to replace Robertson with Tsimikas, and then the sort of maturity and leadership skills of Robertson, experience of playing centre back over the other way around on the right, if you know what I mean, if I made sense there. I just think that could be an option.
Do you know what's mad? I thought we were going to see a little madness. So because of obviously Gomez's injury, I don't think it will happen now. But I had a funny feeling we might have seen Gomez and Matip with Fabinho at right back. In Trent's absence, because he started his career there.
We thought that as well.
Delivery from wide is really good. I think the challenge when you have Milner in at right back is he very, very rarely looks to beat a man. Look, he's an old man now, lads. Let's be honest here. This isn't a slight on James Milner. We're asking him to play one of the most difficult positions. Playing fullback for Liverpool or centre midfield for Liverpool is a horrible task, because you're asked. It's basically playing three positions each. It's crazy. You've got to be up, you've got to be down, you've got to cover space, you've got to be an attacker, a defender. So when Milner plays, what I do notice is he'll get to a certain point up the pitch and he'll look inside and he'll play it on side, and it blunts a lot of what we do that's good. We need to be, whenever the ball goes wide, we need to have the threat of going on the outside and stretch teams, because if we know that the wide men aren't going to try and beat someone, they know that they can just condense the space in the middle, and then we're not going to be able to create opportunities. So I'd be of the same thinking that we need We need pace, and we need that threat to go in behind on both flanks if we are to still be as functional going forward. So
yeah, it's very true.
How I would counter that slightly, or I would say that is, we may not have to rely on attacking impetus from our fullbacks because of that fella, THIAGO.
Fair point.
So he changes the dynamic of our attack completely and the style of our attack. And I think, and we've discussed it, haven't we, Keith, about in terms of we actually predicted that Klopp's going to go to this formation. You know, amazing geniuses that you lot are at the Fatback Four, plus me, that we actually predicted that Klopp will go to this different formation because of THIAGO, and not be over-reliant. Yes, we've got amazing fullbacks, and I agree with Jamie about they're the best fullbacks in the world. They simply are. But we at times, and people started criticizing that we became over-reliant on them in terms of creativity. THIAGO
one-dimensional.
Teams were just doubling up out on the flanks, weren't they? And then
completely changed that thinking and that landscape completely. Because if we add THIAGO to that midfield and Jota to the attack, maybe we're looking for a steady Eddie at right back, a la James Milner. Maybe we need as much experience as we have amongst our ranks now to keep that back four experienced, mature, just get through, you know what I mean? And then let literally the front four be fed by THIAGO. I mean, that is one way of a solution to the problem we have at the moment.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what solutions.
Well, I was going to say, I'm glad that you said solutions, because I think one thing that this team deserves immense credit for is they're the best problem solvers I've seen. Yeah. We have come up against so many different locks that we've had to unpick, and we've always managed to do it. I mean, a slight subtle change. If you look, for example, you know, we've had a lot of mud thrown at us for our high line that we play. In the absence of VVD, have you not noticed that we've dropped? Yeah. So it's a subtle change, but we're not playing that way anymore now. We don't have that personnel, so it's a slight adjustments. We're now playing deeper. There's going to be these little subtle changes all over the pitch, and like you said, Grizz, you know, I think people will be bored if you read my Twitter feed me talking about THIAGO. That threat, as you said, teams used to think, right, okay, we block them off wide, we funnel them inside. Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Fabinho are not really going to create that much, and we looked a little bit turgid. Yeah. THIAGO, if you try to press him, he can just clip the ball over the top, and you've got the 3 red arrows up front, or the 4 red arrows now. So we have enough to navigate football matches. Again, not to sound like a broken record, for me, it hinges on Matip. The whole thing
really is the key.
Sounds stupid to say. It's how long can you keep him in the team? And if it is that he's going to be in and out, then we probably have to look at some type of solution in the transfer market. But I still think as well, lads, I mean, you look at, a lot of people have said, oh, Spurs are going to win the league now, or Leicester. Have you seen Spurs' next 10 games up until Christmas? They've played nobody. They've played nobody, really. They played United away, but United are dirt. They played Everton at home and got beat. So you look at this Spurs. Let's see where Spurs are at the end of December. Yeah. And we've been away to top sides. We've played difficult games, and we are where we are. You look at Leicester. I believe I think something silly like 60% of their goals have come from the penalty spots or something mad like that. I've obviously hammed that up because I like to exaggerate, but. You know,
it's a good point. There is a lot.
But a lot of it, you know, Leicester are a decent side, but they're not on our level if we play anywhere near to our ability. So I think looking at the league table, for Liverpool to be where we are, having faced the problems that we have 2 elite footballers coming back into this side. They will make such an impact. But yeah, it's just, let's get wrapping Joel up in cotton wool.
Yeah. True. Before we finish up, lads, I just want to touch on Kostas Kalastis has put in a few times a shout for Duje Khaled from Marseille. The big red flag I have on that, right, is Marseille were begging West Ham to sign him in the summer. Now, if Marseille are looking for Gillies to sign their players and West Ham are the option, that to me is a bleeding trap all over it. Do not touch that.
I've seen quite a clamour for him on Twitter as well. And you know, my opinion on a player is he's an absolute fantastic ball player. I mean, you're talking, you know, he looks the part, but defensively, I don't think he'd be up for it. Look, the names going around are sort of your Ibrahima Konates of Leipzig. Again, you know, again, yeah, I don't know if our recruitment team can dare take a risk with, because don't get me wrong, Konate is one talented centre back.
I think he's a better player than Upamecano. I think Konate is a better centre back than Upamecano.
Yeah, I agree. Both of us, we talk about that all day and night. I mean, I'm a Upamecano fan. I know he had a stinker against Man United, and a lot
I like him as well.
of the British fans saw that and suddenly thought, "Oh, what a waste of time," including our very Davo. But you know, the real football people know that he's a very good and he's a young centre back.
Yeah.
Again, I think we're going to have to look at. We can't take any risks with players that are perceived to or have an injury record of any kind. We're just not in a situation to do that, lads, this window. We're going to have to look at, I think one of the criteria is not going to be pace, aerial ability. It's going to be durability and reliability, because that's what we need. I don't want this show to end on a total negative and me to start on the likes of Naby and Matip and Ox and in terms of unreliability. But these guys, you know, they were bought for a reason in terms of to be valuable squad players. And no one denies that all of the players I've mentioned are so talented. But do you remember where I said, Keith, I don't want us to be like the same mistake we made with Lallana, Sturridge, Lovren, where we kept them, in my opinion,
for too long.
Too much. Jamie, I honestly believe we kept them one season too much, all of those players. You know I get all the loyalty and you know, the behind the scenes and how, but I just don't want us to do the same mistake with Ox, Matip, you know, Keita. You know, these guys would be so Shaqiri, you know, beautiful talents, don't get me wrong, but you're no good to us if you're unavailable. And I'm not blaming them per se, but I'm saying we got to be cold. We got to be ruthless as a club and think forward now, because you know it's going to hurt us eventually. I know we've done a magnificent job to be where we are, but you know, going forward, we need reliable, durable players.
I think when you look at that, and if you're looking at the bigger picture, I think you look at it, Klopp's tenure when he's looking like he's going to leave. I think he is putting in the building blocks for Klopp's Liverpool Mark II. So I think you will, in the near future, start to see a lot of those players kind of phased out, because we can't afford to carry players that just can't get on the football pitch. I think there's one thing that, sorry if we're finishing up, but there's one thing we didn't mention, and I'd like to avoid it, but I still think that it is an option, is Henderson at centre back. And the reason that I say this, and I'm Jordan Henderson's biggest fan, I think he is the key to all that is good in our midfield. But we haven't seen our midfield with THIAGO yet. If you had a THIAGO, Gini Wijnaldum, and you could keep Keita fit, or Curtis Jones comes in as the creator, the options would it be the worst for us to say, okay, let's say we went into a game with Fabinho and Henderson at centre back, for example, Trent and Robbo at fullbacks, and then you had THIAGO dictating in front of them, Wijnaldum covering space because he knows the system better than anyone. What he does off the ball is exemplary. It's so impressive. He snuffs out danger that we don't even see that there's danger. That's how good he is. And then that gives the likes of a Naby Keita who can press in that kind of third man, that 8 position, get forward, link attacks. Curtis Jones can do the same. So even if that is the worst case scenario, I still think that for a lot of 65% of the games is something that we could do and get through.
Yeah. And that's what it might be, a case of just, as we've said, be creative to try and plug these gaps rather than, rushing into the transfer. Because we've all said it, Klopp as a coach would rather solve the problems with what he has internally. Now, whether the young guys are ready for that yet, I don't know. I think we can sort of get through, but there might have to be something done at least in January.
I would have no issue with it. I like the Henderson shout massively.
Yeah,
because
it's a very last resort. Now, don't get me wrong, but I just think if needs must, because of it's the transferable skills, right? I played defensive midfield, right? And my managers were always trying to get me to play centre back, and I did it a couple of times. And I know, look, it's a shite level. Don't get me wrong, but it's quite easy for some centre midfielders. If you're defensively switched on, you can anticipate where the ball's going to go. You can read when to drop off. You know when to go and win your battles. But most importantly, you can play, lads. You can play on the ball.
Just going to say,
he's got the height as well. He's physical.
the best example of what you've just described in recent years, and the most successful, is our very own Mascherano.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best example, because a defensive midfielder, but so clued on and switched on in terms of how to play so many roles. You know, I think it was Pep that took him back there, was it, Keith? Or
yeah, it was,
Pep. But and why he done that was because, just like Barcelona dominate possession, I'd like to think these fixtures that we've talked about, we will be the dominant team in terms of possession. You know, we can keep the ball for 65, 70, going on 70% of the time. And when you've got that kind of stats, when you're working with those kind of stats, then you could go with someone like a Jordan Henderson to slot in alongside a Fabinho or a Matip, and then just be an extra ball playing centre back. I definitely think it's an avenue. I get what you're saying. It's the last resort, but it's still better than many other resorts, you know, in terms of, you know, I mean, I get the praise that the Phillips and the Williams of this world have got, but we have to be slightly realistic and say one's an absolute child kid, right? He done fantastic. And one is, look, you know, literally our sixth centre back choice. So it is definitely an option, in my opinion.
You make a good point, though, Grizz. The percentage of the ball is the big one.
Yeah,
in modern day football, 70% of football matches, maybe even more, we have most of the ball. Yeah. And a lot of what our good play stems from is the distribution from the back. You know, if you are, and this is, I think this actually is what started the conversation around Fabinho dropping back, because we didn't need a Henderson and a Fabinho. This was pre-THIAGO. Yeah. You didn't need a Henderson and a Fabinho at home against a lot of teams, but they're both too good to drop. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, well, where can we use these? And you look at it, we build so much of our play from the back. Joe Gomez at this point wasn't overly confident on the ball. Van Dijk is obviously a freak of nature; he can do everything. But I think there is something in that where, you know, if you had somebody that's super confident, yes, Phillips can head everything that comes his way, but are teams that press high, are they going to expose him? And when he gets the ball at his feet, are we going to be a little bit susceptible? So, as I said, very last option, but it's certainly one that we could do.
Yeah, I think it's a viable option, to be honest. But look, hopefully, lads, we can, as we say, we can navigate through these games and see where we are, and then take stock again. Before we finish up, I just want to say, to let everyone know that Gavin Andy will be on at 10 with another show, so you'll be spoiled tonight. So we'll wrap up now. And they're
slagging off wine drinkers, I believe, as well. And here's me
having there you are, down in a glass of the finest red.
The good stuff.
Little
zone, mate. Little zone.
Award winning.
Exactly. But, how did we do with the 5 minutes, lads? How long did we last?
We're on to 48.
Okay, so we did well then. Okay.
Close. 5 minutes, 48, 50 minutes. Why not? But it'll be a good show later if everyone wants to tune in. Gavin Andy's little random chats is always a good bit of crack. So, and the reason we didn't want them to be bogged down with Gomez stuff, that's why we decided to do this earlier as well. And to let you know as well, tomorrow to tune in, it's going to be a crack on myself. I'll be hosting Grizz, Shawnee and Davo, and we're going to be doing a little sneaky draft game. That's all I was saying. A little draft that we've had so much fun with over the lockdown. So we'll be re-engaging with one of them tomorrow. So tune into that one. So look, lads, I think we'll leave it there. We've got to 50 minutes. It's you know, I'll be getting Peter Smitted in a minute. Me missus will be banging on that door to come in and stay any longer. So we'll call it a day. And lads, thanks for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
It's been great, especially Jamie, a new one on these shows. So thanks for coming in. And Grizz, as always, becoming more regular on these.
Yeah, no, we did. You know, it wasn't the best topic, and we did decide late in the afternoon. But I felt, you know, it's something that we needed to discuss and sort of
cathartic, Grizz. I feel better already.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, you know, the solutions that Keith and Jamie have come out with has made me feel better, and you know, hopefully the listeners and viewers feel slightly better about the situation.
Well. The initial panic dies away, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. We all sort of start thinking, oh no, it's the end of the world. Let's just keep the heads. The last time people panicked was when we sold Coutinho, and we sort of got through that as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll march on. So we'll leave it there, lads. Thanks again, and listeners, thanks for joining us. We great numbers there tonight, but we'll be back in at 10. So we'll see us all then.